Infosys reports Q1 numbers. It's looking good on the top line. Margins are fairly resilient at 20.8%, but there is a very sharp cut in the company's guidance. The company's full-year revenue growth guidance was 4 to 7%. But the company is now saying that the full-year growth is going to be just 1 to 3.5%. And this is despite a pretty healthy Q1 number. So looking at the Q1 growth rates, we're looking at a dollar revenue growth of 1.4%, a constant currency revenue growth of 1%, which is in line with street expectations, in fact, slightly ahead and much ahead of peers. TCS, for instance, had flat growth in this quarter. So despite Q1 not being a miss, the company's cut in guidance, and it's a very sharp cut in guidance, from 4 to 7% growth on the top line, they're now saying growth is going to be just 1 to 3.5%. We have some, reactions coming in to understand this in greater detail. We have Moshe Khatri, Managing Director, Equity Research at Wedbush Security, and we also have Sandeep Agarwal of Sovilo Investment Managers. Sandeep, that's the first question. Can you explain the guidance cut to us?
No, so this guidance cut is looking very shocking, given that this current numbers are quite good. And despite that there is a guidance cut, it implies that, due to the recent leadership changes, maybe management is building something in, or they have some big project cancellation which would have happened. And that clarity we don't have yet in the press release. So it will be very hard to comment, but this is shocking with inline numbers for the first quarter. Such a sharp cut in guidance is unexpected, completely not expected. And also it suggests that either of the two things, either they have lost a big client or big contract, or they are expecting some damage from the recent big management changes which has happened.
Even the deal wins, Sandeep, are pretty healthy at $2.3 billion. Last quarter, I think it was $2.1 billion. So the deal wins are fine, but I agree with you. This cut in guidance is absolutely shocking, and it can't be explained given the start to the year, because Q1 has been resilient. On margins, the company's delivered margins of 20.8%, which compares with 21%, in the prior quarter. It's a minor dip of about 20 basis points, which can be digested by the street. But it's the cut in guidance. 4 to 7% growth is now down to 1 to 3.5%. And remember, HCL Tech didn't give you a cut in guidance. So despite weak Q1, they held on to their top line growth numbers. So this is very, very surprising, and it's not going to go down too well unless we get greater clarity from the management at the 4:30 press conference and the conference call, which is scheduled. Moshe, how do you think investors are going to take this? That one of India's largest IT companies, the second largest IT company, is going to be practically seeing 2-3% kind of top line growth.
As indicated by the large short interest on the stock, I think it's sitting at a 3-year peak or 3-year high. There was some expectation that 7% number, the higher end of the range, was going to be brought lower. So we thought maybe 4 to 5% in terms of guidance reset. The 300 bip kind of reset, if you will, from both the low end and the high end, it's probably more of a function of, a very slow conversion of the pipeline, which is maybe that's another scenario in terms of what they're building and their expectations, if you will, for the second half of the year. So that's, unless we get some other kind of transparency kind of details from the management, that could be another scenario.
Actually, Moshe, in the last couple of days, Infosys saw a lot of buying. I'm not talking about today, but since TCS and HCL Tech came out with their numbers, there has been a rush to buy IT names, and Infosys was a big beneficiary of that. So, Sandeep, we have a press conference at 4:30. What would be the key questions? One, the reason for the cut in guidance. Is it on account of certain project cancellations, clients backing out? Is it because of the spate of leadership exits that we've had? Is there some expected impact on delivery and execution of projects? So that's one. So anything else that you would want to hear from the management? And do you think it's possible for the company to hold on to its margin guidance when there is going to be no operating leverage? Is that going to be a bit of a challenge?
So I think, the question could be framed in any which ways, but the output or the answer which we want is that, is it an Infosys specific problem or industry specific problem? To be honest, seeing ISG's recent commentaries and the guidance, seeing all the data points which are coming, I don't think this kind of guidance cut is coming out from the industry side. It looks like to me a very specific Infosys related problem. So unless, they say that they are really seeing the industry slowing down and some markets slowing down, which others are not able to see, I would say it is an Infosys specific problem and we need answer to that. So framing of question could be anything, but the answer has to be on those lines.
To understand, is this an industry specific problem or is it an Infosys specific issue? Are we going to see other companies? The thing is, not too many companies come out and give you an annual guidance. Infi and HCL Tech are amongst the few ones which give you an annual guidance. So it's hard to say, from the qualitative comments, what the quantitative picture is going to be for other companies like, say, TCS and, some others. But, we had Coforge reporting numbers, and I know that company has been growing pretty well, but, they're maintaining their full year growth guidance of 13 to 16%. So we haven't seen this kind of downward revision in the growth guidance by the other IT companies so far, and it comes on the heels of just 3 months when they had given the prior guidance. So typically IT companies revise their guidance 6 months down the line. Very rarely do you come out and revise it just 3 months later when you've still got 9 months left. So things may have, turned quite sour. Moshe, do you want to, anything else that you've gleaned out from the numbers? Is the street very worried about the management senior level exits that have taken place? Do you think this could have an impact on the stock?
We don't hear too much about this in terms of concern, but going back to your commentary about 6 months visibility, and then this is where people kind of cut guidance. We've had another example of a company in our space, a company called EPAM, that cut guidance a month after they provided guidance again. So unfortunately, it's not unusual in this environment just because things are pretty volatile and can move pretty quickly. But at this point, I would suggest before jumping into any conclusions, just to wait for the management call and to get that transparency.
Okay. Gentlemen, we'll try and get some more details, but thank you very much for joining in and giving us your first reaction on Infosys. Let's